Hi, welcome to the Whiskey Catapult, where we catapult around the world trying whiskeys from all over the world. Today, we're catapulting over to the States, specifically to Indiana, where this specific bourbon was distilled. So, this is Penelope Toasted Barrel Strength, and this specific batch is Char Level 1. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this one, because I also have another bottle that's a different char level and kind of want to talk about the differences there that from my experience anyways. So this is char level 1 toast heavy proof 112, so it's 56% ABV. It's been aged for 4 years, and this specific bottle is batch 22-02. So I'm willing to bet this was bottled or at least distilled in February of 2022. I'd be willing to bet closer to bottled in that time frame since I've had this bottle for a little bit. So I'm a big fan of Penelope stuff. I think they do a really good job. This one, I believe, is Source, given that it's distilled in Lawrenceburg, sorry, Indiana, and bottled in Kentucky. So, but this was around the time where, the toasted barrel fad was kind of just breaking in, and I wanted to try it. I'd actually bought a bottle from my friend as a birthday gift, and we cracked it open, had a couple drams, and I thought it was pretty good. So I bought one for myself. Yeah, nice sweet nose. Some nice brown sugar. A little bit of baking spice in there. I mean, it's a classic bourbon nose, but nothing's really jumping out. There's a little bit of vanilla in there, very, very faint. Maybe a little bit of leather. But it's nice. Very sweet. That spice kind of rises up to the top. Brown sugar, baking spices, classic bourbon notes. There's still just a little bit of vanilla in there. Not a lot. Maybe like a faint cream note in there. I imagine that's probably from the toasted finish on this one. The finish actually starts out a little bitter, and then it sweetens up. Yeah, and there's a little bit of baking spice on there. So it's good. It's solid. I believe I got this one for $75. So not a bad price, especially for cast strength. But when I was buying this one, I noticed that they had different char levels. And so my kind of initial reaction was, which one do I get? There was a char level 1, char level 3, and char level 5. I bought all three of them. I have finished char level 5. That was the first one that I did. But I did do a side-by-side comparison for all three of them, just to kind of see what the difference of that char level is, how it affects the whiskey, all that kind of thing. So I actually still have my char level 3 here with me that I want to do a side-by-side with, just to see if it's the same as last time. For a little bit. So I will say this has a slight asterisk because while this one is a barrel proof, this one is a total wine pick. So it's char level 3, and this one's aged for 5 years at 57.5%, and the other one was 4 at 56. So very close on ABV. Age is a little bit different. They are distilled in the same area, so I'd be willing to bet the same mash bill and everything. And this one's just char level 3. So really the only difference there is a little extra age, higher char on the toast, but everything else is about right. So I would expect a little bit of variation with this one compared to their standard release. And the char level 5 one was one of their standard releases too. So okay, the original one's sweeter. Char level 1 is sweeter. Char level 3 has a little bit more of a A little more of a dusty note on there. And these are freshly cleaned glasses that haven't been sitting around for a while to pick up dust. A little bit more spice. The nose is a little fainter on this one. And that was my original experience when I did the comparison of Char 1, Char 3, and Char 5, was the higher the char, the less, I don't want to say flavor, but it was smoother. And some of the flavors didn't like jump out as much. It was a little bit smoother, and I don't like using that term. But that was kind of the main difference. Okay, I get a little bit more vanilla on the Char Level 3. Just a bit. But okay. Ooh. There's a little bitter punch in there. Still has a little bit more vanilla. Not too different. A little bit more baking spice. But it is softer on the palate than the Char Level 1. Char 1 stands out a little bit more. Yeah. Finish is almost exactly the same. It has some bitterness. And then that slides down for some sweetness to kind of pop up. Still has that barrel spice. And I have wanted to try, they have a couple of different releases. They had a marshmallow toast version that I wasn't able to get my hands on. A lot of the stores in my area had it as an allocated item. Wasn't able to grab it. And then they also had a like a creme brulee branded one, which also sounded good, but unfortunately also allocated in my area for a lot of the stores that I shop at, so wasn't able to get my hands on one. So I'm going to go back to Char Level 1. Still sweeter. Still has that nice barrel spice, baking spice, slight vanilla in there. So yeah, I do still think I like Char Level 1 better. It's not to say that 3 or 5 were bad, but when a whiskey's a little on the smoother side, it can just be a little tough to pick out other notes. And I'm not going to complain about something being more drinkable, but I don't know. I feel like it loses something just a little bit. Drink a little water and go back to Char Level 3. And again, Char Level 3 is a store pick for Total Wine, so I'd imagine it's potentially a little off profile. That is kind of an interesting thing, though, because if this is sourced and they were going for the Penelope Toasted range, and even it being sourced, it ended up being a little off profile for them to do a barrel pick for. You're kind of doing an independent bottler of an independent bottler, kind of. Interesting to think about. Oh, man. The nose on this one is almost non-existent now. It's just aired out for just a little bit of time. No water added to these. Yep. Same classic bourbon. Bitters, it's not as strong on this one after the first sip. Still sweet. Still has that spice. But yeah. It's just rounded out more. It's like it's calmer. It's calmer. It's smoother. It's like the extra char doesn't really add that much, but given what it's doing, I mean, you're not... When you're toasting a barrel, you've got the flame on the inside. Doesn't really touch the barrel. Just kind of, cooks like the sugars and stuff like that on the barrel, giving it like kind of that light note. If you're charring something, the flame is directly hitting the barrel. It's burning it. It's turning into carbon. And it would make sense that whiskey would be a little bit smoother because charcoal is kind of like a filter, Brita filter. They use charcoal filtration for Jack Daniel's, Tennessee whiskeys. Filters out some of it. But this one being toasted, even though it's a higher char on the toast, I wouldn't think it'd really be taking out that much. But I think it is. I think it's just rounding it out a little bit more. And like I said, that was my experience with the Char Level 5. I wish I had that one still to do the, comparison on camera for that one, but it was just not as interesting for me. It's just a little bit smoother, a little bit more drinkable. Again, less flavor is not the appropriate term for that, but I can't really think of a better example for that, so it's not bad. But I really like Penelope Toasted. It's one of my favorite of their core ranges. I know they've got like a Cast Strength, an Architect with French Oak, and then they've got a bunch of special releases like Rio, Havana. They just did a cigar blend not too long ago. I've not had many of those. I've had the Architect. I've had, I believe it was Havana, which was pretty good. But allocated ones are tough to get. So, but this is a bottle that, I bought 3 of them, so I clearly like it. And I'd recommend it. Price isn't too bad. I know they have I think it's a 50 proof or 50% ABV, or maybe it's 45, release. And then they've got a barrel proof like this one and a bunch of store picks, obviously. It really just kind of goes to your level of ABV, I like my bourbon a little bit closer to like 50% ABV, kind of like a Wild Turkey 101 or something like that, a little bit higher. If you like it closer to 45, I think they've got a standard release for that one too. But yeah, it's good. I recommend it. Good for the price too. But I personally recommend Char Level 1 versus a Char Level 3 or Char Level 5. But that's my personal preference. So it was kind of fun to do a side-by-side comparison with all 3 of them. I like doing things like that. So yeah. If you like this review, hit that like button and subscribe to see where we catapult off to next. Cheers.